Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is here with Ian Rafalko once again. Thanks for joining me, Ian. How's it going?
Absolutely. It's going real good, actually.
Nice.
Just got off the rundown, as you can see. I just got off the cause Resurgence. I got the little shirt, got the, I can't tell what side it's on.
So guys, this is going to be particularly poignant for Clearwater locals who see people walking around wearing shirts and jackets with this symbol on, and they have no idea what it means. That is the symbol for the Cause Resurgence rundown. That is the Scientology program where you pay $2,500 to run around a pole, or in this case, a beam of light shining up into the ceiling, right?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing you do is you pay the $2,500 before you know literally anything about it. I watched that that video. I skimmed it, but I didn't really watch it until I saw your video yesterday, and I was cracking up that they had someone practice that drone shot that goes down just to capture someone on a motorcycle for something completely different than all of that. It is absolutely has nothing to do with anything in that video. So I thought it was actually pretty funny.
Do you think it might have been stock footage, or do you think they did that?
I think they like to pretend like they're a sort of growing multimedia, like they have this sort of repertoire of people who individually, I guess, make them look better through their propaganda and their media. So I think they're just trying stuff that they see on YouTube and in like movies, and they're just trying to. I mean, it's propaganda. It's literally.
But you think you think they actually filmed it? You don't think they pulled stock footage from somewhere?
I don't know. They like to pretend like, that alone, even if they did film it, which they could have just purchased stock footage. They could have hired it out to somebody else, or just bought that footage from some other company. But even then, they would just be like, look at how affluent, look at how good we are at training our people. It's like, doesn't matter.
So look, I mean, there's going to be so many people who think this has got to be a joke, right? There's not really a thing in Scientology where you just run around a pole. Like
right.
There's no way Scientologists are that stupid. So tell us, what exactly was it like? What did this whole thing consist of?
Well, it's marketed, and I don't know if this is not a lot of critical thinking going on when you're in Scientology, but it's marketed as the cheapest thing you can do at Flag. So right away, everyone's like, oh, thank God, something I can afford.
That's actually how they promote it. The cheapest thing you can do at Flag.
They don't market, like they don't have like it on the banners, but that's what the regis will tell you. Be like, just do cause, just what are you waiting for? Even though there's like a mountain of security clearance you need just to do it.
So real quick, Ian, real quick, just for those in the chat, because if people in the chat are wondering, then other people are going to be wondering. So what exactly are we talking about? So guys, in Scientology, there is a super secret Scientology auditing action that can only be done at Flag in Clearwater, called the Cause Resurgence Rundown. And this thing was only released a handful of years ago when the new giant Flag building, so 10 years ago now. Yeah. And what I explained in a video yesterday is that this thing actually came from a punishment that L. Ron Hubbard would make people do at the International Management Base of running around a palm tree for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, days on end, weeks on end, until they sort of snapped out of whatever funk they were in. And Miscavige figured this was never intended to be sold to the public or anything. Never
had anybody heard of any reference or anything. They had to like manufacture this. Oh, it was from something he wrote that was the something about the first objective process on the whole track, which essentially just means it's a form of what he pretended it was a Scientology auditing process from trillions of years ago, back before bodies, you were apparently just orbiting a ball of light or whatever the hell it was. There were no details. There was no procedure. There was no end phenomena, which is big for Scientology and auditing. But yes, it is in fact you have no idea what it's supposed to be. None of the Scientologists who aren't like Googling it know what it is.
It's totally confidential.
Totally.
People aren't allowed to talk about it. Miscavige figured out how to take this L. Ron Hubbard punishment and market it and sell it to Scientologists as something that would actually, well, Scientologists would say, give them case gain, improve their mental state, improve their spiritual awareness, their spiritual ability. And it's literally running around a frickin' pole. Now, what is a Flag's version of running around the pole? How did they turn this into a beam of light? How does that work?
Well, it's the room itself is pitch black, and that's the last thing you see after the sign up process, right? You go to the doctor, and the doctor has a clear bracelet. That's how you know it's like it's secured, like, you know, and they make you buy these expensive shoes. When you get to the room, somebody actually has to walk you in there, because not only is everybody wearing
expensive shoes,
the shoes, almost $300. You have a guy, like, they put us all in a bus or all in a van, all the prospective cause resurgence people, and you go to this expensive running shoe store where a guy's like, walk towards me. Okay. And he's like looking at your feet. And you're like, what the fuck are we going to be doing? And you have to buy the shoes. Otherwise you can't do the run. If you bring your own shoes, the guy still has to like check them out. Anyway, if your folders are even remotely approved, then you meet with the receptionist, who has you wait until somebody comes out and brings you into this smaller room with the Indoctrination pack, which I never realized how ironic it was that literally everything is just marketed as indoctrination when
it's true.
It has to be. It's like, I don't know how I was thinking about it before.
There's no stigma. There's no stigma in Scientology on that word indoctrination. It's a commonly used word.
Yeah, and you kind of give yourself your own definition of it to like lighten the blow, but it's exactly what it is. And the pack, they sit you down and you're reading through. In the book, it just looks like a couple guys running around a flagpole. That's kind of what it like cartoons running around. And you're like, what the? And you're like, keep your eye on the pole. I'm like, okay, it's about. They say it's directing your attention and effort and flows of energy to remove ridges, which is
you're supposed to look at the pole while you're running.
Yes and no. You're supposed to have your attention on the pole at all times. Now, you can do it for 2.5 hours, or you can do it correctly for 5 hours. But once you get in there, it's like super dark, and you like take a left and you take a right. And it's just in this massive, massive dome, the whole entire 6th floor. If you look at the map, if you're in the flag building, I mean, whoever's in the flag building, if you look at the map, there's just a big dark circle on the 6th floor map that just says cause resurgence. But when you get in there, it's like this pole that goes all the way to the top. It's illuminated. And you almost don't even realize that there are already like a dozen people in there. So it scares the fucking shit out of you. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
So, but hold on. There is a pole, or there isn't a pole?
There is I'd say about a 35-foot to 40-foot pole in the center of the room that is fully it's like a warm, like yellowish, like it's.
Is there light illuminating the pole, or does the pole emanate light?
The pole emanates light. It's like a plastic pole with like LEDs in it or something that like makes like a soft light.
Okay.
But the whole room is like pitch black. So you first like can't see shit, and you're expected to run, and like people were knocking into each other constantly because you really can't pay attention to where you're going. Once your eyes adjust, it's a little easier, but if you have to take a break because your feet hurt or something, which is extremely common. There are people like elderly people getting like with tape all up and down their legs, and
but Ian, so they're running in this pitch black room. Are they wearing black t-shirts?
This is what they're wearing. This is all they're allowed to wear.
Why would they make them black? Are you
so that you can focus on the pole? You have to focus on the pole. So like the attention,
but not focus on the person you're about to run into, though.
Well, yeah, and you can't also talk to anyone when you pass the receptionist. You can't talk to any other person who's on the rundown for any reason.
Wow.
You can like be like, but like that's it. Like it's presumed that you're like in session the second you walk through the door. You mentioned how long it takes. You said weeks. I was on it for a month, but I knew people who were on it for 3 months every day.
So what's the schedule? Like, is it one of these things where once you start it, it's 7 days a week?
Yes, 100%. You cannot skip a day. It's like the Purif, basically, the purification rundown.
And how many hours a day? How many hours a day are you expected to run?
5. But if you were wealthier, or you had other things to, if you were a wealthy donor and you had other things to do, or you were my mom who just got tired and she just didn't want to do it, you could do it for 2.5 hours a day. She was like, I would never do it for 5 hours. That was exhausting.
I mean, someone's listening to this. They're going to go, there's no way, you can't just go from not being a runner to running 5 hours a day for a month. So like what happens? Let's say you're running, you have a pain, you have an ache. What happens?
The way out is the way through, Aaron.
So keep running.
And you're running through ridges. Don't think about like they'll take you off if you're physically in pain. You can, once you get around, when you're going around the room, you don't really know where you are in the room until you like approach this like figure who's just standing, and it's your like IC. It's the guy who's like helping you or whatever. It's the guy who's assigned to you, I should say. He doesn't really help you very much. But the person said they're just like waiting there, and they'll be like, come on, it's time to go. And you'll be like, oh, okay. And you almost run into people leaving. But it's like, if you really hurt, they'll make you like they'll make you stretch. Like there's, and have some Dr. Berg electrolytes, which are readily available because he makes money off of his own cult, which I think is hilarious, actually.
So are people losing weight on this program? Are they getting fit?
It's in the same way that like the Purif isn't about losing weight, but people diarrhea their brains out because they're being fed olive oil. It's not about losing weight, but I started running shortly after I finished the program, just because like I was a lazy piece of shit with depression. So I didn't really do a lot of running until I got on the rundown. I was like, oh yeah, exercise it feels kind of good. But mentally, it was never about, you disassociate in there, basically. You just run and disassociate, and you run and you disassociate, and you kind of get into this like trance of I'll physically move despite what's going on in my head. I think it's, on reflection, I think it's more about like control, just like how it was a punishment, how it started as a punishment. I think it's a lot about getting people to not think so much. Like a ridge in Scientology is like a barrier to you doing something that somebody else wants you to do, or somebody else thinks you should do. So if you're blowing ridges, it's basically, to me, it was,
whose ridges? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Yeah,
so
you can be fine. It's not even up to you.
How many people were running around this track while you were running around it?
While I was running, there was a lot of international people. Most of the people that are at Flag.
That's okay. You can count them too.
Yeah. I'd say about maybe 20 total. I did.
Really?
There was one day there's different like times of the day. You pick like slots. I think it's like 3 slots of the day. And I having had one slot, and then another day I had to do something, so I had to move it. I noticed like just another set of people, and I when you show up to Flag and you're like, oh, I could either spend $70,000 to go clear, or I could just do this $2,500 thing. I got why people were doing it, and the fact that you can do it as many times as you want, which was like probably the most bizarre thing to me, because isn't it supposed to help you? Isn't there a limited amount of these that we're supposed to do? Isn't there like an end goal to these things, you know?
So I just know people are going to be amazed because on the first hand, they're going to be like, there's no way this is real. And then you go, not only is it real, an entire floor of a massive, expensive building is dedicated to this program. And as many as 20 Scientologists at a time are paying for, and that's at a time, like in a time slot. Like you're saying you can only do 5 hours a day, but it's 12 hours in the Scientology day.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically, there was a lot of people there. I mean, you know, and they give you the, you know, like you said the other day, they also give you, you know, your Camelback water bottle. They give you your little duffel bag with your like your little get up. They give you sweatpants if you don't like wearing shorts, but and a little clipboard. You got to have your clipboard for.
What's the clipboard for?
Writing down what you're going through or what you're supposed to it's for your folder. So everything you write goes to the cause resurgence case supervisor or whatever, and they just look for God knows what. I mean, I probably said, I don't even remember what I said, you know, but after like a month, I was like, I need to move on with my life. This is becoming a major hindrance. So I just said, yeah, I feel open and I feel like I can freely pay attention and fix and control my flows and, you know, whatever, what was that book? Whatever 88008 or whatever says about flows, and it's just all just nonsense.
So Ian, on the indoctrination for the cause resurgence rundown, what did that include?
I will mention really quickly, when you said like the whole floor, it's actually shared with, they actually have a rather comparatively small purification area. And I say comparatively small because it's a very large building, but it's shared with the cause resurgence level. So the locker room is actually shared as well. So on the other side of the locker room from the purification area is just right there. It's like you can go right into the room from there. But the indoctrination was like it was a thick book with mostly pictures. And they had a wall of them in like every language that they delivered in. But it was very, let's see, I wrote it down here. Yeah, they'll look at your win. You'll come out and you'll write a little win, and they'll look and they'll be like, you know, this is great, but you're gonna have to keep going. And a lot of people were frustrated. I've seen a lot of people arguing because they just didn't like. They were there for, you know, over like for weeks and weeks and weeks, and they had no idea what to say to leave. So it is really like you get to this point of past frustration, and you're just like, you get that glazed exhaustion behind your eyes, and you just say the right thing, and you say, you know, almost verbatim what you read in the Indoc pack, which has to do with like, you know, how you're fucking, what was it?
Well, you just mentioned something that I actually had not considered in relation to this particular program, even though I should have. It's not a matter of just doing this until you've decided you've achieved something. You can say that you want to be done, and you're told, no, you've got to keep going. You're not allowed to stop until they tell you to stop. And you have no idea what it is that you're supposed to say to be considered done.
Having myself been trained as an auditor, I got up to class 5, which just means I didn't join the Sea Org. I did as much as you can do as a public, essentially, or a staff member, I should say. But it's drilled in you very early that control is paramount to your effectiveness as an auditor, and you're not done until they've reached the end phenomena, which is like a little written thing, which is usually like super vague, but it's like something they're supposed to achieve. So it's written expressly that there's a reason that I am in between the pre-clear or the person being audited and the door. It is a psychological tactic to reinforce control, and that the only way out of there is through me. And, you know, I exercise that control, although I wasn't a dick about it. Usually, I knew that no one's going to let me leave that building, because if you there's this, like, they drill in you also that if you leave mid a process, that you are going to go crazy, or you're gonna, get sick or get some sort of illness, or you could what any number of things to keep you from kind of questioning why you shouldn't just stay there the whole 5 hours. I mean, they'll let you go home after 5 hours, but only after then. So if, like, unless you have a medical emergency, which would also mean that you were what's known as PTS, which they would take you off the rundown entirely and interrogate you and do a whole process. But yeah, injuries are just excuses essentially to not finish the rundown.
What about eating? Is it a 5 hour chunk without breaks, or is there a meal break in there?
You can squeeze in a break, but you can't really eat. You can have like a salad or something, or like something small, but like very rarely. They don't really allow you to bring your lunch in. You kind of have to do that beforehand and then after. I think people snack on
Do you eat during
things.
or you don't?
I didn't, but not during, not while you're in there. You don't bring
not
anything.
Like a Tiger Milk bar or something?
No.
Why are Tiger Milk bars so popular in Scientology?
It's the only company that doesn't expressly refuse. It's the only thing that I noticed these, they have to go through these weird fringe companies to get these deals to supply their sort of branded stuff. But in the Hourglass, which is the restaurant in the Fort Harrison, they do have the Tiger Milk bars. They also have a lot of weird, gross organic sodas. It was always
sodas or something. I've never seen Tiger Milk bars anywhere in my life other than in a Scientology facility.
Double max protein, super fudge or whatever. You can snack on it if you're really hungry. They physically can't deny. I think that there's a level of anything that we would legally get in trouble for. We got to be, we really don't want that. We really don't want people to find out that we're a cult. So we have to, they let them, after difficulty, bring things in, but you can't bring a water bottle into the space. When you go into the space with the big pole, you are not allowed to bring anything in there. There are people who will physically remove you.
So they give you a water bottle, but you're not allowed to bring it into the area.
No, you put it in your little cubby and you come out. When you come out, you stretch your, if you have like I said, if you have an injury or something, they're you step on just normal stretching things, because it's like a physical exercise. But it's emphasized as this mental thing. So you really just don't know what the fuck you're in there for. And it's this half prestigious thing, because people are like, oh, look, he's wearing the, he's on there, he must know what's in there, it's crazy. And then you can, with people who have done it, they're like, oh, wasn't it crazy when you first saw what it was? I was like, oh my god, I thought I wanted to leave, I thought I was in a cult. And I was like, oh yeah, that's crazy.
So to reiterate though, you had no idea when you paid for this thing, signed up for it, agreed to do it, you had no idea that it was going to be running at all, much less running in a circle for 5 hours a day for a month. No idea.
When you get the shoes and you get the EKG from the doc, you have to get an EKG. They have to make sure you are physically not going to die. They have the doctor say, yeah, this person won't die, or this at the lowest medium intensity or whatever. But they, you get the idea that it has something to do with, we were thinking like some kind of weird step, like the ground moves or something. They talk about the space, and the space is the place with the pole. So it's very vague, and you really don't know what's happening. And then
is it just called the space? Is that what people refer to it?
Yeah.
The space?
The delivery space, basically, yeah.
The delivery space?
I mean, it's what it looks like. I mean, you can hear they wanted it. I know I can tell that they wanted it to be soundproof, but you can hear the toilets flushing when you're walking around, which kind of distracts the fuck out of you. It's actually a funny thing that I noticed.
I got to say, if I'd paid $2,500 for that, Ian, I'd be like, keep your t-shirt, keep your shorts, throw in a pair of shoes for that price, for the love of God.
And you as a cute little thing they do is they allow you, after you finish the rundown, to buy additional shirts for like $20 a piece. If you lose it or if you miss it. I mean, the shirt, this is the only, like, the shirt inside is the only comfortable part of it. I mean, I'm busting out of this thing because I was a lot smaller when I when I did the rundown, but the shirt itself.
So they want people to be able to buy extra shirts because just wearing it is prestigious in Scientology, because people who haven't done it don't know what the hell it is. They just know it's confidential.
I think it's marketing. I think you're right. I mean, that's more of a blanket, but I think when you wear it, the more you wear it, the more you're advertising. This is borderline like copyright Atari symbol. Like, I didn't know. People ask me what this symbol means. And there's another company, I think, that also has a similar symbol. But, I remember I was in a movie theater once, and I just had this shirt on because, I just threw it on. I wasn't even thinking about it. It's just a comfortable shirt. And this guy at the movie theater was like, "Oh, what does that symbol mean?" And in my head, I just got the most enormous wave of exhaustion just thinking about it. And luckily a friend of mine was like, "Oh, it's a band." It's a symbol for a band. And I was like, "Oh, thank God, I do not have to open my fucking mouth about it."
How do you answer that question? You're like, so look, there's this pole, okay? There's a pole. It's in a dark
all lit up.
Okay, for $2,500.
Yeah,
you get this shirt and you get to run around the pole. But you got to buy shoes. That doesn't include the price of shoes.
No, those shoes are extra. The shoes are decidedly the most expensive running shoes you can buy at the time. It's funny. I think one of the reasons that it is so confidential, or like what prevents most Scientologists from just talking about it colloquially, is that the agreement you sign before you do it says that, like, basically for every person you tell about the rundown, you owe the church $25,000, as well as an additional $25,000 for every person who they tell. So, like, sort of an exponential threat that.
Well, how many people do we think are going to see this video? I'm going to guess, let's say 25,000.
Sure.
Now, I'm no good at math because I grew up in a family destroying cult.
Hey, me
but
too, man.
What's 25,000 times 25,000? Is it 50 billion? I don't know what it is. Let's pull it up, because they could come after you. Hey, those are binding contracts. You don't get out of it just because you left Scientology.
Seems like I'd be stuck with a bill of about 625 million. I'll have to take out a loan for that, I think. Not like that. I mean, like, literally, when I left, I Googled just to see how secure it was, because I remember
how secure what was
the secret. I was like, does anybody know about it?
Oh,
and so I Googled it, and even then, they knew it was just running around a pole. And I remember, and they were like, they could at least give them chairs that go around the pole. And I remember thinking to myself, well, that defeats the whole purpose, because there's a specific thing that you like. There's a specific reason. But almost every, and this is something you don't really think about when you're in Scientology, but almost every single gain that you get is a gain from auditing or whatever, is a holdover to the next gain you get. So they're all temporary. I've had myself experiences of this, and almost, many people that I've met who've done auditing who have these sort of persistent problems that Scientology just can never seem to fix. And when you're in that world, it's in your mind that you can solve problems in Scientology. This is impossible in Scientology. Scientology creates more problems than it solves. You'll go in being like, I get stressed sometimes in crowds, and you'll leave with like, I have a whole track experience where crowds ripped me to pieces limb by limb, and I made a decision at the moment trillions of years ago that, you know, it's you kind of bake in a million different complications and lore of galactic hoo-ha, you know.
Yeah.
And it's only really when you try to apply that in practice and it doesn't work, or people are like, what the fuck are you doing? This is just ridiculous, that you're then introduced to the world of SPs and suppressives and how they are out to get you. You know, that's when you I can't tell you how many people I've seen who try to market Scientology, new staff members mostly, people who are like very like enthralled with it all. They make a very public statement of it, and they're ask me about Scientology and look at all these good things we're doing, and almost every single one of those ends up going private, or, you know, locking up, because there's no way to confront and shatter this suppression that they're so afraid of. There's literally
like Michaela Arrington.
Oh
yeah,
she's still doing that, by the way. I think she's cleverly blocked
doing what
she's needed to. Promoting Scientology.
Oh, is Michaela Arrington still promoting Scientology on TikTok? Oh my God, you guys! Anyone who's on TikTok,
forgot about her completely.
Please go check out Michaela Arrington trying to promote Scientology on TikTok is one of the funniest things you've ever seen. And so, hey, when everyone's running around the pole, did anyone just try to make their money back and start dancing on the pole, or what?
No, a couple people. You're told not to touch the pole. Expressly. That is a big rule. You don't want to touch the pole. You don't want to put your fingers on it. You know
that pole's big.
It's thick. It's like
oh, it's big.
It's like 7 feet in it's like 7 feet thick.
That sounds awesome.
The root, when I saw it, I was like, where the fuck am I? I mean, like, it is the most like mentally jarring shift of like,
what color is it? What color?
It's like a warm yellow. It's like kind of like they tried to make it like a sun thing, but I think maybe they just couldn't make it too bright, so they just turned it all the way down.
Wow.
You know,
did you ever touch it?
Well, they told me not to. I was afraid to touch it. I was afraid to get smudges on it.
Someone's got to clean it, right? I mean, have you ever been in the room when the lights were on?
I have not. They turn it on. Oh, I've gotten there pretty early. I wouldn't say that they don't let you in until like it's all like ready. But there is a guy who comes. I was a very curious guy, so I was just asking, how do you clean it? Do you have people go in there and mop up and clean it? And they're like, yeah, we have a guy. They get on a ladder and they clean the thing.
We got a guy. We call him. He's the pole guy. We got a pole guy.
We got a guy. He gets on the pole. He slides
down. We got
down.
a track guy. We got a guy cleans the showers.
Yeah.
But the pole guy's special. It did not occur to me actually. So I was under misimpression. I thought they had changed it so that it was just like a light shining straight up into the blackness.
I saw that picture, that rendering that was posted on where was that posted on Tony's on Tony Ortega's website?
I don't know.
In the Underground Bunker, and that was roughly what it looked like, but it's like a physical plastic translucent.
Wow. So so I've got to ask you more about the big 7-foot wide pole. Okay, so it's plastic, it's gold-ish colored, but is it uniformly lit, or can you see like bulbs in there?
If you look hard enough, if you're like at a distance, if like you're not supposed to get like I think it's like the further you are out, the fast, like in like a concentric ring circle, if you could think of it like that, like the further out you are, the faster you're going. So like the closer you are to the pole, you're assumed to be like saving that for like the slow pokes, you know, who are in pain or are too tired to run, and they're on like 4.5 hours, and they're just like, I'm just fast walking, I just got to do this, and they're just all looking at the pole. But yeah, so but you'll have a guy who'll come out and be like, hey, you know, are you hurt? And I'm like, no, I'm just really tired. He's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to fight through it, and you're just gonna have to run. You're gonna have to start running now. And I mean, I remember some days they do have a pole cleaner. That's so funny. Who is probably not paid enough.
I clean the pole, $50, and you go $50, $50 for the whole week.
I wouldn't be surprised if yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if they have an all hands, because they like to do that at Flag. They like to be like team building. Everyone, your jobs are all like, none of your authority matters. Everybody scrub the floor and dust the bookshelves. And
Ian, as crazy as so much of Scientology is, this has to be one of the cultiest things Scientology has come up with. And what's funny, this wasn't even L. Ron Hubbard's idea. This is all Miscavige. This was a punishment. This was a punishment when L. Ron Hubbard was around. It was never supposed to be sold to people as a bridge action.
I had heard about superpower vaguely at some point or another growing up before they had made it. And when I finally toured the space, I kind of got it. You're like training perceptions. Like there were like hot and cold and different relative sizes. Like they were kind of like, it seemed, and there was like a gyroscope. There's like a whole gyroscope that you sit in and it flips you around. There's like what they say is anti-gravity stuff, but it's just you on a bungee cord. So you're thinking like, you know, what is this? Because I've never fucking heard of this. And there's just a lot of buzzwords, and people say a lot of like, there's a lot of like canned phrases, like marketing phrases, like, you know, that they use from the Indoc, or they use from things they're allowed to say about it. But once you actually get in there, a lot of people do think that, I mean, I didn't know what the fuck to think. It is a very bizarre and jarring thing.
So even after having finished it, though, you still don't know technically what it is you were supposed to say to finish, right?
I mean, because I had like no option but to make this shit make sense. I like to work with logic, and with everything that kind of didn't fit that, I kind of had to make it work with the lore. You know, I had to. The lore meaning like the universe of Scientology, the fantasy aspects, and all the, you know. So I kind of forced myself to, while I was in there, do it. But after like the month, I just kind of assumed. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't remember. It didn't last, whatever it was. I
don't remember. I don't mean, do you not remember what it is that you said? But you know, you're familiar with auditing and, you know, certain processes that have a specific end phenomena that you have to state.
Oh,
so like, you know, on clay table auditing or whatever, you might know what you said, but you don't know what part of what you said the supervisor was listening for.
Right.
And unless you've read the secret phrase, you don't know what it is. So you still don't, because the only reason it took you a month is you couldn't figure out how the hell to end it sooner, right?
Yeah, I mean, after the month of 3, I was after about the third week, I started having like weird flashbacks, and I started getting very anxious when I was in there, and it was very a lot of bizarre stuff, probably just from the stress, and the complete, you know, disassociation, the derealization, like just, you know. But yeah, I had no idea how to get out of there, and you don't know what you're supposed to say. So people are like furiously, they write like pages and pages and pages just to I guess externalize all these things that they're going through, and then they take that notebook, they take all the paper away, and you do a daily I forgot about this, you do a daily write up, like almost like a report form, like for the purification rundown, like how did you feel today, what did you go through, like does anything hurt, and like, but you staple all the pages that you did together and you send it in, and you have no fucking idea.
Can you stop running whenever you want to write a win, to write a success story?
Within no, you can't, because I was about to say within like a certain time, but that would be no. That would be an answer to your question, because you're supposed to just run, and you're just gonna figure it out.
Did you see anybody pass out?
I've heard of people passing out. I've heard of people like getting shin splints. That was a big one. Like physical injuries. People getting taped up. People. I know one person like that kinetic tape or I forget what it's.
Yeah, the sports tape.
Yeah, the sports tape all over the all over their legs and arms, and like some people.
That stuff's really just for show, isn't it? What does that stuff really do?
No fuck. It seems very intense. Whatever
it's like
they're doing
LeBron and his arm sleeve. What is it really doing? Nothing.
Exactly. It's a compression. It doesn't really feel very compressed. Yeah. I could just wear my jeans, but like they also don't like you. You can't change shoes.
You can't what?
You can't like change shoes. You
can't change shoes.
No, if your shoes become irritating or I remember mine. I think I tried to switch shoes halfway through because I was getting blisters because these were brand new shoes. And I went from just buying them to using them 5 hours a day. And it was very, they did not like that. You were not allowed to do that.
Yeah. I mean,
people got in fights. Like I remember a woman yelling because she wasn't allowed to wear
brand new shoes. Shoes have to be broken in.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned there was some sort of a medical thing that has to be done beforehand. So I have to ask. I mean, are like very overweight people allowed to do this program?
I've never seen an overweight person on the program for the whole time. I mean, I've never I don't think they even sell the shirt's that big unless you're tall. Like they don't really. I mean,
how overweight are we talking here, Ian? Now, to be fair, you don't see morbidly obese Scientologists that often, but they exist.
Yeah, they do. They just don't do cause resurgence, mainly because you have to get an EKG essentially, and if for any reason they think you are at a medical risk, you become a legal liability, and you can't even. That is why. If you are disabled or crippled or in otherwise unable to walk or run, you are just not allowed to do the program.
Guess it saved you $2,500.
Yeah, I mean, you actually also have to pay for your doctor's visit too. So it's just bills on top of bills. It's just getting a lot of money initially, and if you can't do it after you've paid for it, you're not getting that money back.
So, and guys, remember when people
the refund policies.
You mentioned that a lot of the people doing this program were international from outside the U.S. Guys, can you imagine coming to the United States? You paid for your travel. You pay $2,500 for this running program. You're paying $200 or $300 a night for your hotel room at the Fort Harrison or the Oak Cove or the Sandcastle or wherever you're staying. You're paying for your meals. You've come to Florida. You've come to Clearwater. We've got the #1 beach in the entire country, but you're running around a pole for 5 hours a day
in a windowless room,
in a black windowless room, and you think you're the special one.
Yeah. I mean,
incredible.
You just have to take a single step back. I mean, it's hard. They're really into the whole high fantasy aspect of it. And I mean, I was too, but I was more raised in. I was raised in that whole environment, so it wasn't really bizarre to me that I was kind of like most, I'd say, young Scientologists, kind of waiting to see all the cool shit that your parents talked about that you don't really see, or like that you've heard the people who were on the ship with Apollo, or like you just hear so many fucking crazy stories. You're like, okay, well, some of it's got to be true, and it takes a long time for some people to realize that that was just something they thought of in their head. That wasn't actually a real story. This is just another aspect of the lore. And then but yeah, when you see that, you're like, oh shit, is this
question from someone that you know, or is this just fishing?
I think it's fishing. I don't really. I mean, I knew that there were people. I didn't know them personally, and this was a few years ago. I did it when I was. I think I was 20.
Well, this is specifically mentioning ankle injuries. Did you have any ankle injuries?
I didn't have any ankle injuries. I had a mean blisters on the back of my ankles and on my toes, but you know, I was stepping on. I was doing a lot of stretching, and I was stepping on the tennis ball, and which, you know, basically doing the things that I need. I'm a young guy. I'm 26 now, but you know, 6 years ago, I was just more sedentary, I guess, but more like I didn't move around as much. So like 3 weeks in, I was like, oh, I just feel more physically active. Like there is like a chemical response from daily exercise that makes you feel good. And I think this is probably one of the more contradictory, you can sneak in wins. It's like, wow, I just got this rush halfway through. It's like, yeah, that happens to the human body when you run for longer than 20 minutes. But you got 3 hours to go, so keep running.
Wow. I've seen a lot of comments. Like, I've got a poll. I'll let you do it for $100, and it's like, for real. I mean, look, you said you did it for a month. In your
garage.
You said you did it for a month. Just a month worth of accommodations at Flag.
Yeah.
It's unfreaking real. We're talking about $2,500. Just that's just the entrance fee. That's not the all-in cost of the thing. I mean, really, you're talking like 10 grand by the time you're said and done 3-4 weeks in.
Yeah, even the food isn't cheap. I mean, there's like 3 tiers of food at the Fort Harrison, which is where you would eat. Because the cafe at the Flag Building has like just a very bizarre assortment of things.
Just tiger milk bars, really.
They're probably, honestly, I think they save those. There's like 3 classes of restaurant. There's the garden, which is like a buffet style. It's like by the pool. That's what they call it. And it's like the in-between option. And then there's the Hourglass, which is the more like diner style. All the food is like, it was like an unchanged menu for many years. So I just was very used to that. And then there's like the 5-star Hibiscus, which I, in hindsight, feel really bad for the people in the kitchen, because these people are not paid well, and they do not take breaks, and they are very dedicated to what they do, and they do it well. They make good food. I'm not going to lie. That's the only upside. But they are, you know, I've talked to some of them, and just they've been very worn down by that routine because they do not get fair pay to work in those kitchens.
So I don't just to be careful about YouTube's guidelines. I've been saying I've been describing this by saying like medicine injections.
Oh, interesting. The answer to this question, hey Ian, since your dad was anti-medicine injections, did you skip your childhood ones? I actually didn't find out about this until I was already an adult, until I was already 18. But yes, they did actually. And that was one of the reasons that I was prevented from going to public school. They told me that there was like psychiatry is they're going to drug you the second you go in. I mean, that's like a big scare, I guess they had. But I had other Scientologist friends who went to public school, so that didn't really make a lot of sense to me. Turns out they just refused to get me what I legally needed to participate in society. So I was actually isolated for many years. I rarely got sick, but people are different. I'm not going to say that was a good or bad thing. I trust science, and I would say that you should not trust Scientologists with medical advice. Is all I'm going to say. They do not know what side of the coin to believe.
Wow. Well, awesome. I mean, I've never actually had a conversation with someone who'd done the Cause Resurgence rundown before. Thank you, True to It. That's very generous of you. So, and I've never seen someone wearing this T-shirt outside in the wild, other than a Scientologist in Clearwater. I mean, you see it in Clearwater all the time. Publix,
yeah,
Publix, Nature's Food Patch, the post office, walking down the street. And I always assumed that it meant they were on the Cause Resurgence rundown. It didn't occur to me that people actually buying extra T-shirts just so that they continue to wear them as a status symbol.
Yeah, it is a status symbol. There are people who because of the security clearance is so extreme, and only so many people can do it because of the restrictions and like, you know, the time you have to take, and you don't really know what it is. So, you know, it's so ambiguous. So a lot of people, yeah, they use it as a status symbol. I've had people who, you know, who just wore it, who got the uniform and weren't able to start right away, but still wore the uniform because without even having seen what it was done, they still wore the uniform and the shoes and, like, you know, just in case.
Those imposters! How dare
They didn't work. They didn't do the hard physical labor.
I should find some and just wear some around downtown and see what happens. If someone tries to.
I was thinking, how long do you think it would take for if I walk down? I think because I'm tall, they would spot me from a mile away. But I would just love to just walk in and be like, "Hey guys, going up to the space."
Because all the security guards know who I am. I think they have like a book of photos of all the
they know who
local
I met
SPs.
Personally, all of them.
But like
times.
it would totally trigger them just to see me wearing the shirt. Like I wouldn't try to go into the building. I would just like go down.
We'll get you the whole superpower, the silver jacket. It's the same thing. It's like literally the same material. It's just different colors. One's silver and then the silver shirt. Yes. They give you these white puffy shoes that are like pitch white.
I need a superpower jacket, a cause Resurgence shirt, and an OT8 bracelet. And
oh my God.
And an IAS hat. It was defiant.
Oh,
dauntless,
I have a
resolute.
I'll get you one of those. I'll give you one of those gold IAS status pins you put on your lapel when you show up and be like, excuse me.
Well, that's awesome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this chat about the running around the pole rundown. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right